Hello, everyone. My name is Ashley, and I am a machine learning program manager at Google.
And I'm Lawrence, and I'm a machine learning developer advocate at Google.
And we are both people of AI.
So join us as we meet some of the most interesting people in the field of machine learning and artificial intelligence.
You will meet leaders, practitioners, amateurs in the field of AI and ML, and how they ended up where they are today, what they have learned along the way, and their outlook on the future.
Sounds exciting. Shall we do it?
Let's jump right in. This podcast is sponsored by Google. Any remarks made by the speakers are their own and are not endorsed by Google. Welcome, everyone. This is a very special episode. We are thrilled to have Joana Carrasqueira joining me today. Joana is the developer relations lead for the TensorFlow Community. She's committed to fostering healthy open source communities and to enable developers to solve impactful problems at scale. Prior to Google, she worked on innovation consulting for Forbes Top 500 and served as education manager at the International Pharmaceutical Federation, working closely with WHO, UNESCO, and the United Nations. Joana holds an MBA from IE Business School and a master in Pharmaceutical Sciences. Welcome, Joana. We're so excited to have you on the podcast.
Thank you so much, Ashley. It's a pleasure to be here with you today.
So we're going to get started, and I would love for you to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am a pharmaceutical scientist. That is my background. And then I started my career by working in healthcare policy because I deeply care about communities, how people live, how people think, and the well-being of everyone. So I started as a pharmacist, and then I was always very curious. As a scientist, I've always been curious to solve impactful problems at scale. And so that's why I went to work at the United Nations. I really wanted to work on large-scale policies that would affect millions of people, millions of lives around the world. And after that, it was really nice and really impactful work. I traveled the world during that time as well. But there was always one thing that was missing, and it was the impact, to see how these policies would really have an impact on the daily life of people and communities. So I decided that I didn't have the skills and competencies at the time to actually really understand how these policies could have a major impact on people's lives, and that's when I decided to go to business school and pursue my MBA. At the MBA, we'll learn so many different things about business, administration, entrepreneurship, innovation. And I was just so excited to learn all these different things. And that's when I started learning more about technology. And technology really fascinated me because the scientist in me was really curious to learn more about technologies. What are these new technologies that we are all talking about? Data science, big data, machine learning, AI. And so I became really curious about it. That's when I moved to the United States. I met my husband at the MBA, and we embarked on a crazy journey to America together. So those were really fun times. I started working in consulting because sometimes when you finish your degree and you don't quite know what you want to do afterwards, you have to experiment. You have to try many different things, and sometimes even learning what you don't like to do is more important than learning what you like to do in the future. And that's kind of why I went into consulting. I had the privilege to work with many big tech companies, many Forbes top 500 companies, and then I had the opportunity to join Google. And that's why I'm here today. That's why we're having this conversation. And I love the work that I do at Google. I love the people that I work with. I think machine learning is an amazing field, very interesting, changing all the time. And so that is kind of my journey, how I left a small town in Portugal with 25,000 people. And now I work at an office that has around 4,000 people. The scale is crazy.
That's crazy. That's crazy. And this is special for me because we work together.
Yes, indeed.
As well. We're on the same team, which is why this is exciting to have you on the podcast. But I would love to sort of unpack it a little bit more because I'm sure that there are like some significant pivots or points in that journey where you were like, what's next? Or maybe not. Maybe you were like, I've gotten to this point and I need to go in the next direction. So I'd love for you to take us back. So you said that you started off with an interest in pharmaceutical sciences. And I would love for you to tell us a bit about how that started and also how that has been a part of bringing you along your journey into the field of AI.
Yes, absolutely. Great question, Ashley. I was really good in chemistry. And when you're really good at something at a young age, you feel that you should pursue that interest. And that is what I did at the beginning. So I was really good in chemistry, biochemistry. And so I pursued that route.
I'm curious as to why chemistry, why not something else? Was there some, like, could you expand a little bit more about how that interest came about and how that was cultivated?
Well, everything in the world is about chemistry and
Hmm.
how the molecules they are arranged in the world and how certain different compositions and arrangements of molecules they can change so drastically the composition of things, space, and matter. And so I was just fascinated by it. I really wanted to know how everything works, how nature works, how the human body works, how the energy affects our bodies. And I also really cared about people. So, science within healthcare was something that I was very passionate about and very curious about. And on top of that, I was also very good at it. So,
Which
so that
helped.
was great.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, I love spending time at the lab and I'm good at it. So I decided to do an internship, a summer internship at a clinical lab, thinking, oh my God, I want to do this for my entire career. Once I graduate my master's, this is really what I want to do. And after that summer internship, I hated it. I didn't like it at all. So I was thinking that I was going to spend my entire life working at a lab. And after 2 weeks of my summer internship, I didn't like it at all. And that's why I always say to the younger generations experiment, try out new things, get new experiences, because sometimes you think you like something, and when you actually go out there and do it, it might not even be your passion. That happened to me. It may happen to others as well. And that's when I thought, okay, but I still deeply care about people and communities.
Hmm.
And so public health and healthcare policy might be the right fit for me. And it was.
Hmm.
For a long time, it was.
And so from there, you were like, all right, this is the sciences and the people is kind of the direction I want to go. And so did you graduate and then choose a different job, or was it still a part of your degree? Like, how did that shift logistically happen?
So I graduated in pharmaceutical sciences, and then I did an internship afterwards in London. So I moved from Portugal to London, to the London School of Pharmacy, where I did a research internship on healthcare policies working with Latin America. And that's really when I started feeling the bug of healthcare policy, traveling the world, seeing the impact of these big policies on communities, especially rural communities or underprivileged communities. I was really interested in knowing how can we do more with less resources. And so that's why I went back to Portugal because I finished my internship. So there was no way I could stay in London longer. I started working at the Portuguese Pharmaceutical Society, and I worked with a few African countries on renewing their licensing, credentials for pharmacists, things like that. But after 8 months, I went to the International Pharmaceutical Federation, which is the pharmaceutical umbrella of the United Nations.
Mm.
And that's when I really started working at a global scale, which
Wow.
was something that I absolutely loved. And as I was telling you, I traveled to so many different countries: China, Argentina, Australia, Switzerland, Namibia, South Africa. So I
Wow.
had those experiences in my early life through my professional career, which was very enriching because I learned how to work with people from different cultures, how to navigate challenges and problems, and how to solve them quickly in a way that was efficient but also respectful to people. And so all of those early career experiences, they really exposed me to many leadership styles as well. So I had
Mm.
many great mentors, but also I could see firsthand what good leaders do and what bad leaders do.
Hmm.
And so from a very young age, I knew that once I would be in a leadership position in the future, I knew exactly what kind of leader I wanted to be and how I would want to care for people and provide opportunities for people. So all those experiences, they shaped me profoundly in the way that I grew as a person and as a professional.
Okay, so then you went and you got your master's.
Got my master's,
Yep.
indeed.
And so that point of like, because you loved it, you loved working for the International Pharmaceutical Federation.
I did.
Why not continue working with them? What was that plot twist or that pivoting moment for you? What was that like?
When you work for an NGO, it comes to a point when you struggle for resources.
Mm.
And resources are really important in order to see how those global policies can really be applicable on a country or a regional level. And so I had to pitch my ideas all the time. I had to find funding. I had to rely on grants. And after 5 years of doing so and traveling so much across different time zones, I was very tired. I was looking for a change as well. But also, I really wanted to see what's the impact? What does it really mean on the daily life of someone who wakes up in the morning and needs to be healthy for their families, for their kids? What does this mean? And so that's when I thought maybe I don't have enough business skills to actually measure and evaluate these programs. And so I enrolled in the MBA, and that's why I wanted to understand how businesses and technology and entrepreneurship would play a role in the well-being of communities. So that's what I started. That's what I thought at the beginning.
I'm sensing changes here.
Exactly. Well, change is a constant in life, and in my life, it has been for sure. So when I joined my MBA, I wanted to know a little bit more about entrepreneurship. Because if you think about rural areas in different parts of the world, mothers, they are the caregivers. And so they need to also understand business in order to provide a better life and a better health for their families. So I was really interested in understanding how can I learn business skills to then create global programs that will empower mothers and underserved communities to really climb the ladder and get out of poverty, for example. Those were the big questions that I used to think about when I joined my MBA.
Tough questions.
Indeed. And life had other plans for me. And I met my husband at the MBA. And that's when we moved from Europe to America. In America, I had to start a new life. And Silicon Valley, it's the epicenter of innovation and technology. There's so many startups, venture capital firms, technology companies. And so in this environment, I felt that I was thriving, that I was learning constantly. And again, I was curious. I wanted to learn more about innovation and technology and understand how I could close the gap between my scientific background and now my newly acquired business skills and do something impactful. In the Bay Area, technology is everything. And that's when I thought, well, I would like to go into the technology world, learn from this new industry, and perhaps I'll bring some innovations to the pharmaceutical industry or the healthcare industry, because it's normally further behind when it comes to digital transformation than other industries.
So you're thinking of acting more as like a bridge, right? As like you're gonna go and get sort of access to this knowledge and then create that bridge back to what you were doing before.
Yes, 100%. That was my idea. That was my plan. And then that's when I got fascinated by AI and machine learning. And why did I like this technology? Well, it's very simple. It's literally having computers mimicking the behavior of humans. And I had always been very curious about how our body works, how our brain works. And so having this technology behaving in a similar way of humans, that was something that was fascinating to me. And I wanted to learn more. And that's how I got involved in AI and machine learning, just out of sheer curiosity.
I'm seeing a theme here, right? Between studying chemistry and sort of this drive to understand how things work, to understand how things are connected, and the mimicry of technology and the sciences in life and in human beings as well. So I'm sure that now it makes sense. But in hindsight, I'm sure there were moments where you're like, or actually, I should ask you, were there moments where you're like, what am I doing? Why am I here? Or was it a lot more carefully thought out?
Um, it wasn't really carefully thought out or planned per se, but every time that I see an opportunity, I grab it. That's one of the things that I would like our listeners to actually take from this podcast is opportunities can come from many different places, but you have to be ready and open to accept those challenges and opportunities and embark on a journey that sometimes you don't know where it's going to take you but will for sure have an impact on your life. So don't be afraid to take risks and challenges.
I love that. Would love to dive deeper into what that means when you say, you have to be ready for the opportunity and be prepared. What, on a sort of more granular level, what would that look like?
That looks like not being afraid of taking on a new job, a new role, not feeling that you don't belong at a table just because your background is different from the people around you. I think that's what makes you special. And that's what is interesting about you is that at Google or any other company, products that are going to be used by everyone in the world, they have to be developed by teams that have representation of everyone in the world. And that doesn't mean that the team needs to be just formed by a certain group of people or just a certain demographics. It means that all our different perspectives and our different backgrounds and skill set will make these products better and more accessible for everyone. And so that's why I always felt that I belong. I belong in this industry. I belonged in the healthcare industry, in pharmaceutical sciences, because my unique experiences are the value that I bring to the table. And when you're able to collaborate and bring the best out of people, that's when you really achieve greatness. And that's why I always say to the people around me, we belong, we matter, our voice needs to be heard. Because all those things are really important in product development, in product design, in accessibility, regardless of language or anything, really. And so it is important that we give voice to people and we have healthy and open developer communities where everyone feels that they have a place because these technologies are going to change the world. They're going to change the way we live, the way we interact, the way we communicate. And so
And it already is.
it already is,
Yeah.
absolutely. And so it's so important and critical that they are developed in rooms with people from all these different backgrounds and with all these different experiences.
I hear so much strength and confidence in this understanding and knowing that you belong in whichever space that you're in. And it's not something that I think is common. I think there's so much imposter syndrome in tech. I think a lot of imposter syndrome amongst women too, specifically. I know I'm certainly not void of that either. I carry a lot of imposter syndrome, also from being in a space with not a technical background. And so, how do you cultivate that confidence? How do you cultivate that sense of knowing? Does it start when you're a child? Does it, for you personally, how did that confidence and that sense of security of like, I belong, where did that come from? How did that cultivate?
Well, Ashley, that's a great question. And I'm going to be very vulnerable here because I think it's important for our listeners to also know this. I think this strength comes from the fact that I come from a small town in Portugal, and my grandmother was one of the most intelligent people that I've ever had in my life, but she didn't have access to opportunities. She grew up in a time where Portugal was under a dictatorship, and so she didn't have access to the opportunities that I was able to have when I was a child. And so she always cultivated me to not be afraid, to take risks, to study, and to never let anyone tell me that I didn't matter or that my voice didn't matter, because it did. And so I grew up with that mentality and that nurturing. And that's why I always felt really comfortable. I normally joke and say that fear is not part of my dictionary. Simply because I grew up like that. And I always think in life, things can change so fast that if you don't follow your dreams and your passions, you're living someone else's life, not yours. And at the end of the day, I have a mother and a father back in Portugal who love me regardless of what I do or who I am. And so I always felt that I could just try and do my best and empower others along the journey to come along with me, because if everything fails, there's always two people who will love me regardless.
What a beautiful story. And maybe we should dedicate this podcast to your grandmother and your parents.
I would love that. Thank you.
What are their names?
Odette, Fernando, and Célia.
Dedicated to you.
Thank you.
So you have this confidence, and it's grounded in your family and your family's belief in you, which you carry on. And I have had the benefit of you passing that on to me as someone that you mentor and you coach. And I've also seen you pass this on at scale. And one of the ways that you do that is through this incredible event called Women in Machine Learning Symposium. And I would love for you to tell us a bit more about that and how this messaging of belonging and of confidence and strength is also rooted in this event.
Yes, absolutely. Machine learning is evolving, is always changing, like I was saying before. And I feel that we need more diverse opinions. We need more women to be a part of product development, product design. And so, with that in mind, that's why I started the Women in Machine Learning program, to onboard more people with different opinions and diverse backgrounds into our machine learning communities. But then it also evolved. It became a platform where everyone could come in and have a safe space to ask questions, to find mentors, to advance their knowledge in the field, to advance their education. And that's why I think programs like this are so critically important. It started as a way to show women that they can advance their careers in machine learning. We need them. And I'm so excited to welcome more women to the Women in Machine Learning program, simply because we need everyone to build this industry, to build this field. And so the program started in 2021 with the first symposium that was a little bit more focused on diversity. Why do you need diverse opinions in machine learning? This year, we took it a step further, and we hosted the first Women in Machine Learning Symposium with the premise of having women teaching everyone in the world about machine learning. So it's not just saying that we're going to do the right thing for technology and communities and products, but also to showcase and be the role model and the industry leaders really advancing the field and showcasing how we can change the world. And that is why we changed the narrative of the event from diversity to women teaching everyone. Because we have amazing scientists, we have amazing practitioners, researchers, students that are doing incredible things in machine learning, and sometimes all they need is just a platform to showcase their work. So here, it was just a platform for people to come together, celebrate women in machine learning, but also learn the latest and greatest from the experts.
I love that. It again goes back to this theme that has been driving you, which is sort of seeing the impact of the work that you do. And I feel like in machine learning, and especially through events like this symposium, it was really the ability to bring a huge community together, empower them to continue to make impact.
Absolutely. If there's one woman in the room and that woman brings another woman into the room, there's two women in the room now. And I feel that that is really the power of community, is how we bring people along, how we find a safe space and we find others that are like-minded and are living through similar experiences. And if they're not living through those experiences, at least it will be there to support you along the way, to listen to you and help you. Because that's how we empower people. That's how we develop each other. And that is what I really like about working with developer communities. It's amazing. The people are great. The technologies and the impacts of what we do is outstanding, but also we have the power of make things right, of developing technologies the right way, thinking responsibly when we develop our frameworks, our models. We think about the data that we put into our models, avoiding biases. So all those things are really important. That's why we need representation. And then another thing that really excites me is Simple ML that we've just launched in December. It's amazing how we can now provide a tool for everyone in the world, regardless of their background or expertise in machine learning, to really use these machine learning add-ons on Google Sheets to help you solve problems on your small business, on your daily life, to help you identify molecules if you're doing some research around DNA. So there's so many use cases that you can use this product for, and you don't really need to be a developer or a programmer or someone with a very deep knowledge in machine learning. So I'm very passionate about what Google is doing of making machine learning accessible to everyone in the world, regardless, again, of their background, expertise in machine learning, geography, religion, gender, race. I'm very, very passionate about this mission.
And it shows. It shows in the way that you manage, in the way that you communicate, in the events that you do, in the products that you work on, and the work that you do. The Women in Machine Learning Symposium, as well as the launch of Simple ML, the extension on Google Sheets, was so successful. If you go check out the websites for both of these things, they look great and they look polished and prepared, but it takes a lot of work to go into that. And so I'd love for you to talk a little bit more about how that came about and sort of this brainchild of an idea, how that came up and how it evolved.
Yes, indeed. There's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes when we work on new programs, when we launch new events. And the Women in Machine Learning is no exception. So I really knew that I wanted to take it a step further this year. And that is why I started thinking about, okay, how can I educate the masses on the latest and greatest about machine learning? How can I empower others to go out there and keep spreading the message and being ambassadors for this program? But also, how can we give opportunities and the tools for more women to get involved? And with those three things in mind, that's how we designed the program that was focused on education. Let's educate on the latest and greatest responsible AI, diffusion models with Keras CV. What are the things that are really impacting the industry right now? So that was the starting point. Then the next step was, how can I empower more women to then go out there in their local communities and teach more women and teach everyone who's interested in machine learning about what they learned at the event. And then lastly, how do we empower more diverse people with more diverse backgrounds to really get involved in the field and feel that they belong? So, with those things in mind, you create an event that has a good mix of educational sessions, workshops with step by step tutorials so the participants can follow along. But also, it's important to provide a platform to ask questions and really connect with the people in the field. So, those things are very important for people to really feel, okay, I am going to that event, I'm going to invest my time, I'm going to invest resources in learning more about this technology. And so the event experience needs to be fantastic. It needs to be worth the time that the participants are trusting us with. And so being mindful of those things is honestly really, really important.
Well, we're very grateful. And me especially, having been at the event, I think we're very grateful for the work that you do and for how much you impact and touch other people and empower and enable other people to be their best versions of themselves and continue to do great work and share that. We are nearing the end of our time together. And so I would like to end with two questions. The first is, what's next for you, Joana? Where's the next big thing for you? She'll be CEO at some point. So you've heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen.
That is a very good question, Ashley. I honestly don't know where my career is going to take me. But like I always say, I'm open to embrace new opportunities, new challenges. I think my curiosity will lead me to my next step. I just don't know where it is going to take me yet. And I'm also fine with not knowing, because it's the thrill of the unknown that also moves me forward. And so I don't know, maybe we'll be here talking about it in a future episode.
Excellent. Oh, I can't wait to follow you and see you on your journey to what's next, and privileged to be able to join you on some part of it. All right. We always ask our listeners at the end what your favorite AI movie is.
Oh, Ashley, that is a great question. Movies, I don't know. I like so many different movies. But if there's one book that you allow me to reference, I really like The Adventures of Women in Tech, How We Got Here and Why We Stay, by Alana Karen. Alana is one of the amazing women that I had the privilege to work with, and she has spoken at the Women Machine Learning Symposium before. She's definitely an inspiration, and this book tells the stories of many women in tech. So if you're listening to us and you are someone who's trying to find your path, you're trying to find your way into tech, I highly recommend this book because it gives you a really broad perspective on why we joined the tech industry and why we stay.
And it's relevant and relatable to just about anybody.
Yes, absolutely.
What a joy to have you. I'm so glad you made the time. We are so happy that you're on this podcast, and thank you for your time and for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me, Ashley. It was a pleasure to be here with you, share a little bit more about my journey, my stories,
Your adventures.
My adventures. And for our listeners, I would like to challenge you to find mentors in the industry, not to be afraid of applying to that job that seems impossible, because impossible is nothing. And you just have to keep on going until you land what you really desire. And have fun. Have fun along the way. Meet people, stay curious, ask questions, and enjoy your journey in tech, because it is an amazing, fantastic world that is always changing.
Evolving. Thank you for that. What an honor. Thank you, Joana.
Thank you, Ashley.